Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in beautiful Boise, Idaho. Welcome to those of you in the sanctuary. Welcome to those online and all the ships at sea. My name is Becky Borzon, and I am this week's featured vocalist. You gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. You gotta spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum, have faith or pandemonium is liable to walk into the room. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale and Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything seemed so dark? Then they said we gotta accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. Rex Miller. On bass. Yeah. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale and Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything seemed so dark? Man, they said we gotta accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. I said don't mess with Mr. In-Between. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Jackie Holland, the senior minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living. And it is my delight and my honor to welcome you here this morning. Those of you who are in the sanctuary safely distancing and following all of the rules, just know with me that all is well, and we are delighted that you are with us this morning. How wonderful it is to see you. And those of you out in Facebook land, we feel you behind this silly camera. We know that you're with us. We feel your energy, and we are so grateful to welcome you this morning to the Center for Spiritual Living in beautiful, slightly overcast Boise, Idaho. Yes, God's gift to the world, but don't move here. Stay right where you are. I'm just saying. Oh, you've already heard the voice of the remarkable, the amazing Becky Blake. Let's give her a hand. Miss Becky, where are your people performing this week?
I'm performing with the Billy Blues Band this coming Saturday evening and Sunday morning at the Indian Creek Plaza Blues Festival.
Okay, the Blues Festival, the Indian Creek Plaza Blues Festival, too much for me to remember this morning. She'll tell you later, but let me really tell you how to know what our musicians are doing. Just go to the CSL Boise Facebook page and look on there and you'll see musicians. Click on that, click on Becky Blake's beautiful photograph, and it'll take you right to her website. And if her website is up to date, it'll tell you right where she's going to be. As is the truth for all of our musicians, including our beloved Rex Miller, our musical director. Yay, Rex Miller. Accompanied this morning, of course, on the drums. And boy, was I hearing some great stuff this morning, solo drums this morning by Mr. Phil Bowden. And holding that low note, holding that note that kind of anchors us to Mother Earth, we have our bass player, Mr. Ted McClurg. This is the CSL House Band, ladies and gentlemen, and don't we love them? Don't we just love them? Ooh. Oh, so many people assisting us in getting ready for this morning service, running around this morning, greeting you, Reverend Janine, Jane, Torres, and Jane, New Jane, we're going to call her Jane and New Jane, welcoming you this morning as you came in. Thank you. Picking up shoes that were somehow lost in the parking lot. We don't know. Doing all the things that ushers and greeters do to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living. We are so grateful for you. Back on the camera this morning, we have practitioner Donna Sheedy. On our sound, we have our beloved Rob Compton, a happy father this morning. So happy for everything unfolding in his life as well. And preparing this church, getting it ready for you this week, was Mary Borg, who came in and cleaned our bathrooms and just did everything for us. We just want to give our volunteers because, you know, we can't do it without his hospitality this morning with Miss Frances Ray, and thank you for the cookies to Judy Rhodes. Thank you so much. Please join us. For those of you who are in the sanctuary, please join us after service for hospitality and say goodbye to Ron Livingston, who has moved to Denver, but is with us today, and getting to know each other. If there's somebody that you don't recognize and you're saying, who is that person? Don't be embarrassed. Walk up and say, hey, I don't remember your name. And just ask and say good morning to them and get to know them. So please join us after service. I want to say that for those of you on the Facebook Live, we will not be having our after service online hospitality today with the Knowles. They are away on vacation. So this is it. Please hang on. We're in for a great, magnificent day. But right now, let's just take a deep breath together. Take another deep, cleansing breath. And hold this thought in your heart. That in this moment, there is no place that I need to be except right where I am. Those of you who are here with us on Facebook Live in your homes, right there. Those of you who are watching us later on in the day or the week, right where you are is the perfect place to be. Those of you in the sanctuary. So take a deep breath as we invite our practitioner of the day, Miss Jo Johnson Hughes, to join us. As we just allow the hustle and bustle and the words of this morning to fade away. Take another deep cleansing breath into these strong, healthy bodies of ours, consciously giving thanks for our strong lungs, our strong immune system, and sending that same affirmative word into our world.
It is my honor to introduce Elizabeth Edwards, who will light the world religions candles from the Christ candle. We perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. In lighting these candles, we honor the one family of humanity, made up of over 4,000 religions and spiritual traditions throughout the world. We light the first candle for Hinduism. Ramakrishna, a Hindu mystic, says, God has made different religions to suit different aspirations, times, and countries. One can reach God if one follows any of the paths with wholehearted devotion. We light the second candle for indigenous teachings. Chief Tecumseh of the Six Tribe Confederations shares, trouble no one about their religion, respect all in their views, and demand that they respect yours. We light the third candle for Judaism. Rabbi Eric Yoffe, head of Reform Judaism's Union of American Hebrew Congregation, states, our view is that there is truth and holiness in other religious faiths. Our view is that there are many paths to God. We light the fourth candle for Shintoism. An ancient Japanese saying says, there are many paths up to the mountain, but the view of the moon from the top is the same. And the fifth and final candle is for all forms of new thought. Abdul Baha, a leading teacher of the Baha'i faith, says, all must abandon prejudices and must even go to each other's churches and mosques. For in all of these worshiping places, the name of God is mentioned. Since all gather to worship God, what difference is there? They hold aloof from each other merely because of unfounded prejudices and dogmas. Let us quiet our minds and open our hearts to the spiritual message being sung by Becky Blake.
I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself. And I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself, and I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart, and I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart, and I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will be easy on myself. I will be easy on myself. And I will love myself like a newborn baby child. Oh, I will be easy on myself. I will be easy on myself, and I will love myself like a newborn baby child. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. Oh, I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. Now I know. Oh, I am gentle with myself. I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child. Yes, I am gentle with myself. I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child, and I rock myself like a newborn baby child, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child, and I love myself like a newborn baby child.
Please join me in prayer. As we breathe in deeply this beautiful spirit surrounding us, enveloping us, that spirit which made all that is, that spirit that will be here when time is no more. And that same powerful spirit that manifests itself throughout its creation. And that same beautiful spirit that made all that is within me. It moves through me and manifests as me. And what I know for myself, I know for each and every person sitting here today or at home as they watch this service through Facebook Live, that we are all connected to Spirit, never separate, never truly alone, and filled with that loving Spirit. And so from this place of unity, I bless this service. I bless each and every person participating in it. And I especially bless our beloved Reverend Jackie Holland as she steps forth to bring us a message given to her for us to hear today. And I am so thankful for the truth of my word as I release it into the law, knowing it is already done. Namaste, Ashe, Aho, Amen, and so it is.
One, two. Hey, please put your hands together for Miss Becky Borzon.
I know we don't see eye to eye. We've let angry hearts flare and the bitter words fly. The common ground we used to share is harder to find, but I believe that it's still there. I don't know if now is the time to surrender the silence between your heart and mine. But the love that I've chosen cries out to be spoken, leaving the heartache behind. We can reach out beyond justice to mercy, going more than halfway to forgive. And though the distance seems so far, the love that used to hold our hearts wants to take us beyond justice to mercy. It doesn't matter who's to blame, for the love that I have for you is still the same. A tender voice is calling me to that place of compassion where hearts run pure and free, where the hunger for vengeance gives way to repentance, where love will teach us to see. We can reach out beyond justice to mercy, going more than halfway to forgive. And though the distance seems so far, the love that used to hold our hearts wants to take us beyond justice to mercy. To mercy. To mercy. We can reach out beyond justice to mercy, going more than halfway to forgive. And though the distance seems so far, the love that used to hold our hearts wants to take us beyond justice to mercy.
From justice to mercy. Becky Blake, ladies and gentlemen. Becky, I know that you're not going by Blake now, but I cannot pronounce your last name, and I'm so sorry. I'm going to practice it one of these days. Good morning. So, a good friend of mine from North Carolina about a year ago sent me a magazine as a birthday gift, or maybe Christmas, I don't recall. And it was entitled Garden and Guns. I lie not. I lie not. I don't know what the subscription to this magazine is, but it is an interesting thing where a minister will get their motivation for a talk. Now, although the name of this magazine is, in my mind, kind of horrific, Garden and Guns, it's really a terrific magazine. And so far, I haven't really seen any guns in it. I think that it's a play on trying to reach the woman and the guy in the South. You know, because there's not a guy in the South that doesn't love guns. I'm just saying. But anyway, they have a monthly article called Country Accent, and this is where I got my motivation for the talk today, from Garden and Guns. Yes, it's true. And it's entitled Naming Rites, naming R-I-T-E-S. And it's written by a woman from North Carolina, by the way, who owns a restaurant, a fabulous restaurant, if you ever get to North Carolina, called Lenore. And she talks about that. But I just want to read, I might as well just read it because it's kind of funny, really. She says, it's probably been a minute since you heard someone order a vodka cranberry with a wedge of lime or a bourbon and ginger with just any old ice. Maybe that's because all bartenders tighten their leather straps on their aprons at the thought of birthing the next Manhattan or Fuzzy Navel. Cocktails immortalized with snappy names now known the world over. Or maybe the sheer number of ingredients shaken in today's libation requires wrapping them in convenient labels in order to sell them. Whatever the reason, she goes on to say, in today's world, we have to have a special name for a cocktail. And she talks about how she decided to name her cocktail, her famous cocktail. See, in church, only in church will you hear somebody talk about drinks and alcohol. I'm just saying. Okay? I'll get to it in a minute there. Okay, she goes on to say this. We've all named something. A car, a pet, or body part. If you have kids, figuring out what you're going to call them for the rest of their lives probably followed one of two paths, family name or creative expression. And then she goes on to talk about some really funny names in the South that won't interest you at all. But she says, the first thing I'm sure I ever named was the faux Cabbage Patch Kids doll I got for Christmas in 2nd grade. The real Cabbage Patch dolls were adopted. They came with birth certificates and names attached. Anybody here have a Cabbage Patch doll? Becky did. She said mine wasn't even a knockoff. It was hand-sewn and stuffed with cotton so tight, she looked undeniably uncomfortable with her arms and hands permanently splayed, poised to give anybody willing a fat-fingered bear hug. Once I accepted that she was the only version of a Cabbage Patch I was going to lay my hands on that Christmas, I got to the business of naming her. I thought about how one day I wanted to be rich, and since all the rich people I saw on TV had poodles, I figured I'd name my Bride of Chucky look-alike Poodle, and considered myself halfway there. But what I really wanted, more than riches or a legitimate Cabbage Patch, was to be just like my sister Joanna, so I stole the end of her double first name, and Poodle became Poodle May. Naming Poodle May was clear-cut and easy. She goes on to talk about naming her first book and naming her restaurant and naming other things and naming her cooking show, by the way, she also has. Then she talks about other North Carolina enclaves have a tougher time naming things. I imagine that people who name the tiny communities of Tick Bite, Lizard Lick, and Booger Town, they exist. I've been there. It's true. Lizard Lick and Booger Town. Okay, come on. Can't you see the city council sitting around and say, let's just name our town Booger Town? Come on. The world will pay attention to us. Right? Okay, so here she says, they found their handiwork to be knee-slapping funny. In the flattest part of our state, somebody exercised their irony as well as their reach by naming places that are basically concave, in other words, flat, with their own names like Rose Hill, Pleasant Hill, Moss Hill, Potter's Hill, and Pink Hill. All exist with not a hill in sight. Mostly, though, she says, I find naming things to be hard. When it matters, when your opinion is not the only one at play, when the name and the thing are destined to take on a life of their own, the pressure is on. I doubt the guy who named Tick Bite thought about how that label might affect his community's future prospects. Yet when I put a name on something today, I understand the power that it has. To position a business, to draw in viewers or to exclude them, to honor one's parents, to set the stage for the person or the thing to come, to name my very existence, good or bad. Why do we name? Why do we name things? Human beings have a deep-seated need to name things and to be named. We have a deep-seated need to do that because we know that there is huge power in naming. Especially as religious scientists, we know that. When we name, when we identify, when we write down, we've got an author in the room, she understands that. The power of the naming of a book will either sell it or leave it on the shelves. The power to name. Because we need to identify, to symbolize, to refer, to describe, to simplify, to organize. And most importantly, we need to tame. When we name something, we tame it. We own it. It becomes closer to us. Long before the written alphabet was invented, long before there were A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs, and as far back as oral history exists, humans have felt compelled to name things. People, weather patterns, animals, foods, our homes. Many of us name our homes. In the South, that's a big thing. You walk up and there's always a plaque on the front porch naming. Even the humblest of home has a name. And every name describes something. It's a practice that has transcended culture and tribes and geographies and time periods, from the most primitive tribe to today. And today's media is pretty darn good at naming, aren't they? They're pretty good at misnaming and naming. The ancient Egyptians believed that their god Ptah, whatever their god Ptah, P-T-A-H, Ptah, I don't know how to say it exactly. Whatever this god named was created. The Bible itself tells us that God spoke into the void words, and the world was created. Romans began giving names to destructive forces of nature, and today we name our hurricanes down south and argue whether it should be a male or a female. It's important. Naming is significant in both Hebrew and Christian religious history as well, reflected in the book of Genesis, where we read, God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky and brought them to the man to see what he would name them, to see what he would call them. And whatever the man named each living creature, whatever he called it, that would be its name. Whether we believe that this is the real story or not, I can imagine the first time somebody saw a horse. Oh, let's call that a octopus. Naming. Even our secular literature tells us how important naming things are. In Rumpelstiltskin, which is one of my favorite children's stories, in which the miller's daughter can only avoid giving her firstborn child to Rumpelstiltskin by guessing the dwarf's name. Naming everybody's name. We name it. We feel it's our right as producers, owners, friends, and parents to assign names to our children. In this wonderful article in Garden and Gun, she talks about how her parents chose their children's names. My mother and father decided that they would divide their 4 daughters up, and that Daddy would name 2, and that Mama would name 2. My daddy named his 2 German, beautiful names that trip off the tongue: Greta Lynn, and Frida Joan. And my mother named me Jacqueline, after my daddy. She named my other sister Karen. I never felt tall enough to be a Jacqueline for some reason. Researchers have long acknowledged that there is a great power in naming things. In the advertising business, I assure you, more money was spent in research when I worked there, in researching, branding, and giving products names. How would it trip over the tongue? How would it play in Mexico and in the United States? Who could easily remember the names? The name became everything. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the research industry, in the advertising industry, in researching what the correct name of a new product was. I had the beautiful pleasure of introducing the first ATM machine in California. That's been a lot of years ago. It was Security Pacific Bank, Lee Risk. See, I remember his name. We remember what's important to us when we name it. I can't tell you how much money went into automatic teller machine, ATM. But we named it the Ready Teller, and it failed. The Ready Teller, it failed. People didn't want a teller that was ready, that was a machine. They wanted their tellers to be tellers in the bank. We misnamed it. It failed till it was changed to automatic ATM. Names, the act of naming something gives us psychological ownership, the feeling that something is yours. Names give us emotional life. You say, my iPhone or the iPhone, but you don't say the Surrey, do you? You say Surrey, right? Because she simply is Surrey. But the my iPhone or the iPhone indicates ownership. It's cemented, it's yours. It invites an emotional connection. So why do we name? We name because it's important to us. And it goes back, the idea of naming goes back to the beginning of creation, as I have said. Naming provides a hook of which we start to hang an entire web of meaning. And without meaning, we can't work in the workplace, and we can't survive either. So naming is a tool, and it's a powerful tool. And it allows us to bring the true experience of human life by giving it our name. It gives a concept to it. Names are the building blocks of everything that we do and everything that we are. So here's the question that I'm going to ask you today. How have you been naming what's going on in your life? What name have you given to this event, this activity, this thing that may not be unfolding as you want it to unfold? Are you naming it from a place of consciousness and of goodness, or are you naming it from a place of negativity? Because words have power. When I was a little girl, we used to, I'm sure many of you know this, we used to say things like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Remember? Anybody besides me used to say, sticks and stones may break my bone, but words will never hurt me. Wrong. So wrong. It was the words that hurt us. It was the definitions that hurt us. Wrong. It's not true, but it does reflect the power of a name. You know, we take naming for granted as children. Everything you learned about already had a name. When was the last time something new came into your experience that you need to give a name to, that you needed to give a name to? Almost everything in our experience has been given a name by someone else. I don't know the consciousness that they named that. The word pain, for example. Why was it called pain? Who named that? And the word pain, maybe it could have been growth. Maybe it could have been attention. Isn't that what pain really is? Getting your attention? But we have defined words a certain way, and we're living that way now because as children, everything was already named. And when it comes to naming something new, like a pet, we chose a word from the language that we already knew or a word that we liked. It is rare that we will sit here and say, let's make up a new name for my new puppy or my new kitty. No, we search our memory banks for a word that we like or that has some meaning for us, that expresses what we feel about that dog or that cat. It takes me about 3 months to name my animals. Truly it does. I have them in my home for almost 3 months before I name them because I have to know what they are, what their personalities are before I named them. When I was a little girl, we had a dog. She was so regal that we named her Queen because we didn't have another word for that. What is it that we could do to begin to rename things in our life so that we can reframe them from a place of positivity, if in fact we are naming things in a negative way? One of the greatest gifts that Jesus, the master teacher, gave us was when he modeled and taught us that we can create and we can recreate. One of the greatest lessons of all that we need to know is that Jesus, the master teacher, when he named someone, they were healed. When he spoke the word, there was a healing. And over, he told us, as I say to you every week, that we have that same power. And yet, this week, after I read this article, it made me look at everything that I was naming. And so I opened my refrigerator door and look at what I have named my cheese. Delicious. So when some things were happening to my body temple this week that were not pleasant for me, I watched how I named it. I watched how I spoke my word about it. And they were all negative. Because we really haven't learned, some of us haven't learned another way to do that. So we name it negative, bad, painful, all the things that we moan and groan about, instead of sitting there and saying, what is it that I could do to recreate some words around this? Perhaps it's deepening, I said to myself. Perhaps it's trying to get my attention. My body is trying to get my attention. Why call that bad? Call that good. That your body's trying to get your attention and trying to help you move through whatever it is so that all is well. Why do we label things based on our childhood? Because everything was labeled for us. Headaches are horrible in my family. Headaches were like, all the women were faint. I'm having a headache. Please leave me alone, dear. I'm having a headache. Mama's got a headache. And we named it horrifyingly bad. I mean, oh, Mama's got a headache. That's terrible. That's terrible. So we labeled it. We named it terrible. Instead of labeling it what it was. Mama needs some peace and quiet. Do you feel the difference? When we name, when we do it with consciousness, when we do it with awareness, as the master teacher taught us, we can, in spite of the fact that we were raised to believe we could not change our reality, we can change our reality. And we can do it by renaming whatever it is. You know, I've been dealing with a group of senior women. I have a little tiny support group for some senior women that I have met. And it's wonderful to listen to those women talk about aging. And in the beginning of our little group, that when we were getting together, I am the youngest. I'm a baby. I'm kidding. To listen to the negative of growing older and all the changes that it brings about and all the things that are going on with aging. I don't care if you're 30 or 70, we all feel the same way, we're getting older. But to watch, when we began to explore this idea, how could we rename this? How could we relabel this? How could we look at natural things that are happening in our lives as beautiful and rename it? And I'm telling you something, guys. It is an amazing moment when we can relabel something that we have always considered bad and see it for what it is, a way to create something new in our lives. Over and over and over, Jesus modeled for us to create something better. He acknowledged what was. He didn't deny. He did not deny that the man was lame. But he acknowledged what was, and then he created from that. He spoke the word, he renamed it, and he created miracles, just as we can. You can, and I can. He healed the sick. He fed the multitudes. He turned water into wine. He spoke the word, and through his actions and his model, whether he was real or a metaphor, we are invited and encouraged to do the same. So many of us, myself included, have a default mode, which is victimhood. Nah, I'm a victim here. If we don't like what's happening in our lives, we get stuck feeling sorry for ourselves. We bear our burdens. And yet Jesus showed us, and so many other spiritual avatars have shown us, that we can change our lives. We can recreate our lives. We can create from the spirit that we already are. You know, our spirit announces who we are when we walk in a room. Have you ever felt that when you're in a room and somebody walks in and they've not spoken a word? Sometimes you say to yourself, oh, it's what she's wearing, or it's because of he's so tall. No, it's that the Spirit goes before us walking into a room. So we begin to create our life by our spirit, by who we are, by what we are, when we remember that we are God in expression. Our thoughts create. Our spirits create, and our thoughts create. Deepak Chopra says our thoughts are things. Our thoughts are things. So our thoughts become something out here in this outer world. Now this morning I've had about 25 negative thoughts. Okay, 125. And if I am aware that these thoughts can and do create something out here, which not only impacts just me, but everybody else, I tell you, it's an eye-opener. Our thoughts create. The Old Testament tells us, as a man or woman thinketh in their hearts, so are they. Our thoughts create our beliefs, our reality, and our experience. Our thoughts, it's as simple as that. It's as complicated as that. So as we think, we become. As we think a new thought, we can become a new experience. Our thoughts create this way over and over and over again. Now I realize that this is Science of Mind 101. I get it. So many of you sitting in this room already know this. You already know it. And if that is the truth, that we already know it, then why are we still creating the same experience over and over and over? I am reminded of a man who went to his boss one morning after finding out that a new employee, less than 5 years on the job, had been promoted over him. And he said to his boss, "Why did you promote that man over me? I've been here 20 years. How did he get promoted over me?" And the boss looked at him and said, "Because you have been living the same 20 years over and over." And he has not. He's new thoughts, new ideas. We don't have to keep recreating our life, the same life, over and over and over. It is as simple and as difficult as this. By asking ourselves, what did I say? What did I believe? What did I think that contributed to causing this in my experience? That contributed to causing this. We're not about blame here. Deepak Chopra said, thoughts are things. And our words create. I've been saying that all morning to you. In Matthew 17:20, we read this, "For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to here,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you." If you have the faith of a tiny little mustard seed, and you speak to a mountain, move. You speak to an addiction, move. You speak to an illness, move. You speak to a negative situation in your life, move, go, leave. It will be done. It will be done. But we forget that. We forget that. We say the words without the belief behind it. We say the words without the little tiny mustard seed of faith. So our prayer needs to be, God, give me faith to believe this, to know this, and to accept this as who and what I am right now. Our words have the power to create both positive and negative. Our words can lift us, can build us, or can tear us down. They have the ability to create negative experiences that we don't want. Jesus said this, let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this word comes from evil. Because the universe assumes that we really do want what we're saying we want. The universe assumes that. It can't tell you you really don't want it. So when I say this headache is hurting like you know what, the universe says, I believe that that's what you want. But what if we renamed it and said, this experience that I'm having is drawing my attention to something that needs to be looked at? With love, we can say that. We can rename it. In the African world, the naming of a new child is a very, very important thing. They wait for almost 10 days before they will name the child. They do that, first of all, to make sure that the child will continue to stay in the human world, to stay on the earth plane. But they also do it because they know that the name of the child is the single most important thing that child will ever receive in its life. Because it is that which it will carry with it forever. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you don't like your name, that you change it, although you could. When I was at the Agape Church in Los Angeles, people would change their names almost every day, and you would forget, who are you today? Sapphire Rose used to be, I can't even remember now, but they would change their names with the whim. I'm not suggesting that we do it with the whim, but I am suggesting this, that if there is something about you that wants to be renamed, rename it. You know, I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and Doctor Who, in one of the television series called the Shakespeare Code, that particular show was all about naming. It was all about naming. And this is what Doctor Who says. Naming gives you power over something, he said. And so I named her. I gave her a name. That's old magic, he said. This is not new, this idea of renaming something. It's not new. We can rename. We can have the magic. We can rename whatever is going on in our world. So listen, the next time you go down to the Fork or wherever it is you guys go to have your cocktails, seriously, and you look at that drink list, I want you to think about the amount of love and time and attention that was put into giving that ruby slippers, which is nothing more than grapefruit juice and grenadine or something, a name, ruby slippers. Think about the hours that went into renaming those drinks. And now I want to ask you this question. Are you and your life and the events that are going on in your particular life not more important than a Arnold Palmer? I'm just asking. Are you going to rename it? Peace and blessings, my beloveds. Woo! Let's just take a moment. Let's just take a moment right now to move within and just ask ourselves, what name have I given God, the Creator, the infinite Spirit, the universal mind, the great creative power? I have named God love because of all the words that I have in my meager arsenal of words. That is the word that best reflects what I know God to be in my experience. Love. the power and the presence and the joy, the wisdom, and all that goes beyond human words to describe. There are no words grand, glorious, or sacred enough to describe this infinite presence that is within us, as us, is us. For the Master Teacher said, the kingdom of heaven is within. Do not go looking for it here or there, it is within. The Father and I, the presence of love and I are one. And so it is from this platform of unity, of faith, of love, that the word is spoken this morning. I speak the word for so many individuals that have requested prayer of the body temple through our prayer line, through our practitioner corps. We especially right now are holding Jim Berinsky in our prayers for wholeness as he is recovering from his surgery this week. We hold for Jim and for all people who have any issues of the body temple the grand and glorious idea that there is nothing to heal, but there is only the perfection and wholeness of God to be revealed right now. And so allow yourself to reveal the truth of your wholeness. Allow yourself to let go of any name and allow yourself to be revealed as the Spirit and the love of God. I speak my word for our world right now. For those athletes there in the Olympics that are representing their communities, knowing that they're representing the whole world, how grateful we are for their health, for their strength, for their youth, for their dedication. And we blanket that entire event with peace, security, and safety right now. In those areas of our world where this COVID is beginning to rear its head yet again, and the variants that are making their way to be seen, we just simply hold the truth that God is greater than any pandemic, is greater than anything, and we put our belief in the wholeness and the health of all people. And we take care of each other as we take care of ourselves. We bless our young people and the difficult road that so many of our young men and women are facing right now. You are strong. You are strong. And you have this. And we're here for you. We love you. And for their parents, we hold strength. And so whatever is on your heart this morning, just place it in this prayer vortex right now. And now let it go. Let it go to the Spirit and the love of God that knows and is all things. And so for this, We are deeply, deeply grateful. We name it good and very, very good. In gratitude and humble thanksgiving, we declare peace. We declare love. And we release it now. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Take a deep breath with me. And for those of you who are in the sanctuary, turn to someone and let them know you're glad they're here, maintaining appropriate distance. And for those of you who are at home, look right into this camera and know that I salute the Christ consciousness that is in you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Well, I was going to bring Ron Livingston up here and bless him on his journey, but we're not going to, because you're not gone. You're going to be here because you're going to be here a couple of more weeks, and we'll have a chance to. Yes. So, Ron's house is for sale. Little free advertising here, and it's a great house, and boy, has it been blessed by years and years of loving animals, taking care of so many of our animals Ron has over the years. And so, if you're interested, call Ron Livingston or, go online and you can see all about that. This is our conscious giving time. I just want to remind you that our practitioners are standing by, ready to pray with you. They're just, if you are online with us right now, just put your prayer in the live feed or go to prayers, that's plural, prayers at cslboise.org. Prayers at cslboise.org, and you can write your confidential prayer requests there, and our practitioners will begin to pray with you beginning this afternoon, and for 30 days or for however long you want prayer. And if you've got good news, put that right now in the live feed and let us know your good news. We always love to pray over good news, don't we, practitioners? Also, our practitioner, Joe Johnson Hughes, will be in the prayer room after church. Now, that is at the end of the west hallway. So for those of you who are in the room and you may not know this, you can either go through this door, this exit door right here, or you can go out into the lobby and turn to the right and make another right and go to the end of the hallway, and Joe Johnson Hughes will be available to pray with you immediately after service. But for those of you who are on the live feed, please do let us know what your prayers are. Those of you who are in the sanctuary, of course, our prayer request form is in the pocket in the chair. Please fill out a prayer request and put it in the prayer box that's in the lobby or in the offering basket as it's coming by. And once again, our practitioners get on this job right away. For those of you who are in the room, and if you are visiting with the first time, do we have any first-time visitors today? Yes, would you stand and just let us welcome you? And we want to put a little gift in your hand. Thank you so, excuse me. Thank you so much for being with us, and please, you may be seated. Please, everybody stay after for hospitality, for some homemade cookies and some great things that are going on, and get to know each other. This week, we celebrated at least 2 birthdays that I know of, and I want to ask Reverend Janine, would you come forward? And Jenna Nash, would you come forward? And is there anybody else in the room who's had a birthday? JJ, your birthday's this week? Today! Oh my gosh, JJ. And Joe Johnson's had a birthday this month? All right, all of you guys, any other July birthdays? Come on up here. Come on, July birthdays, come on up. Come on up, Jane. We're just going to do so JJ's today. Oh my gosh. Today, and Jenna's was Friday, or? Thursday. And Janine, your birthday was on Wednesday. Now, Janine, everybody face. Let me ask you this question, Janine. May we share your young age? How old are you? 88. So Janine, hold this. And would you tell us, please, tell this congregation, what do you think some of the most important life lessons, just hang here, we'll be here 2 hours, no, seriously, tell us, just from your heart, what are some things from 88 that you want us to know, that we can live better with knowing?
Well, one thing is pray a lot. And I think that's about it. If you pray about it.
So Janine, what has been a few of the most precious things in your life? What's important to you from the vantage of 88 years old? What's important to you in your life?
Well, I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, very important to me. I was there for every birth, every single one. It was lovely. And then I have 2 beautiful daughters that are very precious to me.
Family.
It's a family.
And many of you may not know this, but Reverend Janine, turn around, look at them. Reverend Janine was a unity minister for over almost 30 years, right, Janine?
Yes.
For 30 years, so aren't we blessed to have her here? Thank you, Reverend Janine. And Reverend Janine, what is your one wish for our world that you say every time I ask?
Peace.
Peace. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Yes, 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 yes. So this is our conscious giving time, the time when we give back to Spirit that which Spirit has so magnificently given through us. Thank you on behalf of this congregation and on behalf of the Board of Trustees. We just want to express our gratitude for your support in this difficult pandemic time and going forward. We are so blessed by the consciousness of participation in the law of circulation. So we say thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the ability to give back that which has been given to us. So let's just take our gift, our offering in our hands. This represents the checks that have come into the church since Wednesday. There are about 30 different ways that you can give to this church. Right now online, I know it's being placed, the different ways that you can text and the different ways you can give to this to give to your spiritual home. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's just take our gift, our offering in our hands as we say, Divine Mind, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Becky.
We're talking about names. All right. Oh, do not wait until some deed of greatness you may do. Do not wait to shed your light afar. To the many duties ever near you now be true. Brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where So into one heart alone may fall your song of cheer. Brighten the corner where you are. I said brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are. 'Cause someone far from home may need a guiding star. Brighten the corner where you are. Rex Miller. Here for all your talents you may surely find a need. Here reflect the bright and morning star. Even from your humble hand the bread of life may feed. So brighten the corner where you are. I said brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are. Someone far from home may need a guiding star. Brighten the corner where you are. Ted. Oh, Phil. Yeah. I said brighten the corner where you are. Just brighten the corner where you are. Oh, someone far from home may need a guiding star. So brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are. Brighten the corner where you are. Yeah.
Oh, please stand and receive your blessing. What a beautiful day and what a beautiful bunch of people we have here. And so as you go forth into this beautiful, sunny day, remember who you are. Remember the light that you shine. Take all that love and just spread it everywhere you go. And know that you are blessed, always blessed. Have a wonderful week.